I'm Victoria Pearson, but you can call me V, and I promised you guys a day out today, but I left this vlog once again to the very last minute. It is Sunday today. This is due out at 6 a.m. tomorrow. It is absolutely hammering down with rain and thundering. It is as dark as night time out there at the moment. It's 10 in the morning. Um, and the thing that I wanted to show you will not be visible to you if I took you out there today. And so we are going to have to do that on a different day instead. And I considered just waffling at you for a little while. I recorded 10 minutes of me waffling at you, and I thought, you don't want to listen to this. So instead, I thought I would read you another story. This time it is from one of my books. It's from Strange Times. And as I remember it, it is PG. My 10-year-old's in the room, so I hope it's PG. It's been a while since I've read this story. But the reason that I've chosen the particular story that I have out of Strange Times is that a couple of years ago, it was made into a short film. A short film was made that was loosely based on the story. They expanded on it in some ways. It was a very, very interesting take on it, and I really enjoyed seeing that. Absolutely loved the whole process and would love to make more short films out of my stories and maybe get more involved in the process of them. I will link the short film in the description for you so that you can go and watch it if you want to. Today I am going to read from Strange Times, and I'm going to read you a story called The Door. So are you sitting comfortably? Then I will begin. It was a sleepy Sunday morning when I first noticed the new door. It could have appeared on the Saturday night. I had been out drinking with my boyfriend Robert that night and was pretty distracted at bedtime. I might not have noticed it. It definitely wasn't there Saturday morning. My house isn't the biggest, just a living room with a small kitchen attached downstairs, a bedroom and a small bathroom upstairs. It's not like I have a huge old rambling house where a door might be overlooked. I walked straight past it the first time, my hungover brain not really registering it as I stumbled downstairs to make coffee. While I stood waiting for the kettle to boil, I started to feel like something wasn't right, but I couldn't quite put my finger on it. My head was sore and my mouth was dry, and I just wanted to get the coffee and go back to bed. I could hear Robert moving around upstairs, and I smiled to myself. We had a whole day together before he had to go for the working week. I wish he didn't work so far away. It wasn't until I was halfway up the stairs that I looked up and saw it. A solid oak door with black cast iron hinges and an ornate doorknob, right there at the top of the stairs. I stopped dead. I didn't know how to react. I didn't even really feel the hot coffee slop against my pajama bottoms as the mugs fell from my hands and bounced down the stairs. I must have screamed or something, because the next thing I knew, Robert was charging out of the bathroom, asking me what was wrong, wrapping his arms around me as I sank to my knees on the stairs. My head was spinning. I couldn't see, couldn't breathe. My whole body was overtaken with waves of shock. "Oh my God, tell me what's wrong. What's happened?" he demanded, but I couldn't get the breath to speak. I just pointed. He looked over his shoulder at the door. "What? Kathy, please, you're scaring me. What's wrong?" I didn't understand why he wasn't as panicked as me. "The door," I managed to gasp. "Can't you see the door?" "The door?" He frowned at me. "Of course I can see it, baby. What's wrong with it?" I stared at him blankly. What could he mean? What's wrong with it? Did he think it was normal for a door to just appear out of nowhere? "Let's get you off the stairs," he said soothingly, helping me to my feet. He half led, half carried me up the stairs. I couldn't take my eyes off the door. An icy draught hung around it, and I shuddered convulsively as we passed it. Robert sat me down on the bed. "Just take a few deep breaths, my love," he said. I could see it through the open, familiar white plywood bedroom door. The new door was just sitting there, staring at me over Robert's shoulder. "What's happened?" he asked when he thought I'd calmed down. I hadn't calmed down at all, though. I was just trying to concentrate on sucking air into my lungs. What should I do? What are you meant to do when a new door appears in your home? Call the council? The police? The bloody Ghostbusters? "That door," I said, my voice trembling. I cleared my throat and started again. "That door. It wasn't there yesterday." He snorted, half smiled, and shook his head a little. "I don't get the joke," he said, confused. I'm not joking, I snapped. It wasn't. You know it wasn't. There's never been a door there. I started to get annoyed. If this was some kind of elaborate prank, it certainly wasn't very funny. Babe, you've lived here 2 years. That door has always been here, he said. Are you feeling okay? Did you bump your head last night? He looked genuinely concerned. This isn't funny, I yelled at him. Of course I didn't bump my head. Okay, it's okay, he said soothingly, and it just made me angrier. Why are you talking to me like I'm crazy? You know as well as me that that door was not there yesterday. Where would it even lead? That's an external wall. I jumped off the bed and strode towards the door, my rage smothering my fear. I grabbed the iron doorknob. It was as cold enough to hurt my hand. Undeterred, I turned it, pushing on the door. It was locked. Babe, come on. You know that door's always been locked. The landlord told you that before you moved in. Robert frowned. Concerned confusion clouded his features. Should I call your mum or something? Why would you call my mum? I asked. Did you hear that? I held my head close to the wood, not daring to lay my skin on its cold surface, straining my ears. Hear what? It sounded like a kid laughing. It was probably just a kid outside. I think maybe we should call a doctor. No, it came from in here, I'm sure of it. He strode towards me, took my face in his hands. Babe, listen. No one is in there. You've lived here 2 years and the door has been locked all this time. There's no one in there. I stared at him for a little while blankly. Then I turned and stared at the door. I barely registered him walking past me, going downstairs. I started to think about ways I could get it open. Maybe if I unscrewed the hinges? Did I even have a screwdriver? I decided I could go to the DIY store, get screwdrivers, maybe a chisel or an axe. I went back into my room and threw on yesterday's jeans and a jumper. I didn't like turning my back on the door to go downstairs. Robert was on the phone when I got down there. I ignored him while I looked for my keys. I was so annoyed with him, but not sure why he would persist with this notion that the door had always been there. No, she was fine last night. I don't know what's wrong, he was saying as I found my keys. Kathy, wait! But I slammed the door on his words, jumped into my car and headed for the DIY store. As I threw the screwdriver set into my basket, I realised that I hadn't had a proper look at the hinges. The screws might be hidden or on the other side of the door. I ended up buying a mallet and chisel, a small saw and an axe as well. Quite the shopping list. I expected Robert to be gone when I got home, but he was still there, my mum and the landlord with him, drinking tea out of mismatched mugs. Where did you go, babe? He asked quietly, in the kind of tone that you might use to speak to an animal you were afraid of spooking. I went to buy some tools. I want that door opened. Catherine, you're being ridiculous, Mum said. There is no new door. Doors don't just appear overnight. It's always been there. Isn't that right, Mr. Core? The landlord nodded. It's always been there. It's just a storeroom is all. We talked about it before you signed the lease, remember? I stared at them. Whatever this was, they were clearly in it together. If it's just a storeroom, why is it locked? I asked, playing for time. What were they playing at? Like I said, when you moved in, said Mr. Core, a previous tenant lost the key. That's all. We've not been able to replace it because the door's so old. I stared some more. I knew the door was new. I was certain of it. Why was everyone pretending it had always been there? Well, I bought some tools now, I said, playing along. We can get it open and start using it again. Like I said before, the door is very old. Antique, in fact. You can't damage it, said Mr. Core. You're a good tenant. I don't want to lose you, but I can't be letting you damage my property. Come now, Catherine, you are being silly. It's never been a problem before, Mum snapped. I didn't know what to do. I was never going to get the door open with everyone here. Maybe I did bump my head after all, I said. I do feel a bit headachy. Maybe we should go to the hospital, Robert suggested, chewing on his bottom lip. No, I said. I'm sure I'll be fine. I just need some rest is all. I'll be fine. It didn't take the landlord long to leave, but it took Mum hours before she decided to go. The rest of the day with Robert was strained and awkward. I tried to pretend like I remembered the door, but I think he knew I was lying. Usually Sundays go so fast, and I dread him leaving, but on that particular Sunday I couldn't wait for him to go so that I could attack the door. He stayed later than usual though, and I ended up falling asleep on the sofa with him still there. When I woke up the next morning he was gone, but had tucked me in and left a note saying he would call later as always. The note didn't mention the door. I went straight out to the car and brought my new tools in. I started by unscrewing every screw I could see. Then I turned the knob and shoved against the door with my shoulder. It didn't budge. I slammed my shoulder into it again, but my only reward was a white-hot pain that shot from my shoulder to my elbow, leaving my hand tingling. I heard a faint giggle from the other side of the door, I'm sure I did. Next I took the chisel and tried to get into the gap between the door and the frame, but it was too tight. I hit the door with a mallet, trying to get it to budge enough to get the chisel in. I might as well have tried to shift a mountain. Nevertheless, I kept trying anyway. I was determined to get that door open. It was getting dark by the time I decided to get the axe. I had tried kicking it, chiseling it, pounding it with the mallet, but the door looked as perfect as before, unmarked, ice-cold wood. The door had no face, of course, but it felt like it was smirking at me. I stood back as far as I could, right at the top of the stairs, and ran at the door, my axe raised. The force of the blow vibrated up my arms, jarred my whole body. The axe head went flying off over my shoulder down the stairs before settling with a sickening thunk into the front door. The new door remained pristine. I sank to my knees, panting, despairing, trying to convince myself I couldn't hear gales of giggles coming from behind the door. It was fully dark before I moved again, getting up to switch the landing light on. The bulb flickered on and off, buzzing loudly. Fear gripped me, and I ran round the house switching on every light and lamp I had. Then I rummaged through the kitchen drawers until I found my torch. I took the blanket off the sofa and wrapped it round myself, and then I sat with my back to the front door, watching the new door at the top of the stairs. I'm not sure when, but at some point I fell asleep. The week continued in that pattern, me trying to open the door all day, watching it until I fell asleep at night. I'm not sure when Robert stopped calling. I think it was Friday when my boss's concerned voicemails became angry. I don't think I have a job anymore. Whatever lives behind the door is getting bolder now. Last night when I woke in the night, the door was slightly open, I'm sure of it, a faint greenish-blue light coming from inside. I grabbed my big torch like a weapon and headed upstairs, but by the time I reached the door, it was locked tight again, as if it had never been opened. Sometimes in the morning I wake and find things in my house have moved. Nothing large or significant. My childhood teddy bear that sat on top of the wardrobe is now on my bed. The magnets on my fridge have been rearranged. My photo album was open on the coffee table. It's too cold to go upstairs now. My breath turns to clouds halfway up the stairs. I go up only when the need to go to the bathroom is too great, and never after dark. I don't know why I don't move house. I just can't seem to bring myself to. More than once I've thought about just burning the place down. I play with matches, lighting them, watching them burn out, never quite daring to do it. I don't think I'll ever leave here. My only company now is the eternal sound echoing through my house, the laughter of an unseen child. Well, I hope that you enjoyed that spooky story. I don't know if you could hear it, but thunder was going on in the background throughout, which made it very atmospheric, I thought. Next week, I'm hoping that we'll be able to go out and do something, and I will get myself together and actually do it before the weather turns into this. But if you can't wait until then to see me again, I will be here every single morning in your shorts, taking a great big deep breath, letting you know what I'm grateful for. Sometimes I'm letting you know what's challenging me that day. And I will also be here on a Witchy Wednesday doing an intuitive tarot card pull for you as well. Until then though, you have yourself a magical week.